What's up, everybody? This is Corey from How To Tech, and we're going to go over some tools we're going to use in the removal of this iPhone 7 screen. First, we'll need a heat gun, and we'll also need our screwdriver and some bits. We'll be needing the pentalobe bit, the P2 size, to remove the screws from the bottom of the phone, a small Phillips, either a 00 or 000, and then a Y000 tri-wing tool. I actually prefer the 00 Phillips screwdriver to the 000. I just feel like I get a little bit better grip. We'll be using some guitar picks and a metal opening tool, a plastic spudger to help us remove some connections on the inside, and possibly these tweezers. Not sure if we'll use them, but just in case, they're nice to have. So here we have our iPhone 7, and the first step we're going to do is remove the two pentalobe screws from the bottom of the phone on either side of the charge port. Let's insert this in and pull them right out. They're not stuck in there too bad. They're actually fairly easy to get out. And the one on the opposite side of the charge port. Now these are teeny tiny, and the biggest suggestion I can make for an iPhone repair is make sure you keep track of your screws of exactly where they came out on the inside of your phone. I use a dry erase magnetic map, and then I write where they came out of on the phone. That will help you a lot. These screws have to go in exactly where they came out. We're going to go ahead and heat up the edges of the display. Now it doesn't have to be super hot, and you can use a hairdryer for this. All we're trying to do is heat up and loosen the adhesive that's holding the display to the metal frame of this iPhone. Now the most important part to heat up is on opposite sides of the home button. That's normally where the most adhesive is at. And this screen will actually separate different than the iPhone 6s or the 5s. We put our metal opening tool just down here right below the home button. I'm going to get it started now. I don't want to use this tool to go all the way around the outside of the phone. I just don't want to scratch it up. So we'll swap it out for these plastic guitar picks, but it is much easier to open with the metal tool. You can see a little scuffing there. I just don't want to get that all over the side of my phone here. So I'm going to use this guitar pick and stick it in and start to loosen up the adhesive around the sides. We'll use our second guitar pick to kind of go down. Now you're probably not going to get them in very far around the corner. There's some standoffs from the plastic frame around the display. We only need to stick it in just a millimeter or so just to get the thin layer of adhesive around the sides of the phone. Alright, this side's starting to look pretty good. We're going to work our way up the opposite side here. Alright, and then work our way around and up. And once you start to get this adhesive loosened, you'll see that the display will start to pull away from the bottom, but not from the top. And that's because there are some inserts at the top of the phone where this screen is pushed in and up. We'll talk about that just in a few seconds. So now that we have the adhesive loosened, see how I didn't go all the way to the top? Now that I have the adhesive loosened, we can actually put our finger underneath the display and kind of pull it out. And you'll see some strands of glue in here, or some adhesive that's holding this display in. And what we want to do is basically go around and kind of cut this off. Oh, here's a good one. Let me focus my camera on it real fast. And you can see right here this black string, and that's 100% okay to cut and open. I'm going to just kind of separate that from the sides and just kind of work your way down. Make sure none of that's holding the phone in place. That'll make it easier to wiggle the top of the phone out. We have a little bit of adhesive right here as well. Focus that in. And we're just going to work our way up and kind of cut that out. Alright, now you can start to see that it's really wanting to kind of pull away, but not from the top up here. So what we have to do, I just turned my phone on, whoopsie. We're going to wiggle it back and forth, left and right. And you'll start to see that it's kind of separating. There's some adhesive up here at the top as well. You can't pull the phone straight off. So what we're going to do is wiggle it back and forth and pull down, and then it's going to fold open like a book. The front of the screen is going to fold to the right. You don't want to open it too hard because there's some ribbon cables. I'm just using my spudger to cut the glue at the top of the phone here. Sorry to go off camera for a second. It's been a while since I made a video. I've got to get used to keeping it in frame again. It's always hard to repair a phone when you're doing it on camera. Alright, so we'll just cut this glue off. The top up here, you can see that we've kind of pulled it out, and it's really stuck on there. Alright. You can see the ribbon cable here. This one's for the display, and there's one up towards the top for the camera as well, just right here. So we're going to flip the phone over, and then we will open it up. There we go. Perfect. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and remove the little metal plate here. Don't mind the little piece of fabric here on the right side. This was giving me a lot of lighting feedback and it's causing my picture to be a little low. So we're going to use the tri-wing screwdriver here to go ahead and remove the 4 screws out of this metal panel. And underneath this metal panel is 3 cables that we have to concern ourselves with: the battery and then 2 for the display. We're going to go ahead and remove this 4th screw here, and as I said before, make sure you keep these and understand exactly where they came from inside the phone. We'll go ahead and pop this metal plate up, set that by our screws off to the side. Now we can go ahead and undo the cables. We have this first one, which is the battery cable, so we'll disconnect the battery, and then these 2 below it, which are for the display. Now, if those 2 cables are removed, we can go ahead and remove the camera portion up here at the top. Remove the screw just right above the battery on this metal plate, and you can see there's one right behind the screen. I find it easier to kind of fold the screen shut, pull a little bit past, and then undo the screw here. These are both Phillips screws. With those removed, we can go ahead and pull this little plate up, and that will reveal the connection for the camera, front-facing camera loudspeaker portion of the front cable here. I'm just going to put this fabric back on here so I don't get too much lighting back onto my camera and make my picture dark. Let's put this with the screws, and now we can just pop up the connection for the camera cable. With that done, we can remove the display from the phone. We're going to go ahead and remove this metal bracket here that holds the front-facing camera in place. We'll take the first 3 Phillips screws out that are underneath the bracket itself, the bottom far right screw, and the screw in the middle and the far right here as well. These are all Phillips screws. It's an odd mix of Phillips and tri-wing screws inside the interior of this phone. Alright, so with that done, we can go ahead and set that aside. And here is our front-facing camera. Now to remove the loudspeaker in here also, we'll have to undo screws holding the loudspeaker in place. So we're going to go ahead and remove these 2 screws in the bottom of the loudspeaker. Perfect. Now with that done, we can actually go ahead and pull the front-facing camera up and away and pull the front speaker out. You can see it's much bigger than those in the past, and the gold contacts that make contact down below. Now we need to remove this little ribbon cable here, and to do so, it's got a little bit of adhesive. You're going to have to pull up, and my camera zapped out there for a second, but I just pushed up underneath the cable itself and pulled the cable up and away. Now we're removing the proximity sensor portion of the camera. Now it's kind of stuck into this little plastic piece here. You can see there's the proximity sensor. Now you may have to actually transfer this plastic to your new display if it doesn't come with it. Just use a little tiny bit of super glue to kind of put it back in place. And then there's a front-facing camera holder here as well. Now we're going to move on to removing the home button. These are tri-wing screws down here at the bottom, and we need to remove all 4 screws from this bracket that's holding the home button in place. Perfect. We have 2 out, and we'll remove the remaining 2 here. See, our bracket's still held in place. Just making sure you have to remove all 4, which you do. Now, if that done, we can go ahead and pull the bracket off, which is actually covering the home button connection cable. So we will need to go ahead and undo the connection from the home button to this cable that runs just underneath the back of the screen here. And it's kind of it's an odd connection. We'll have to just put our spudger in between the 2 of them and twist just a little bit, and the connection will pop open for us. The next step for us is to go ahead and remove the 6 screws holding the metal plate on the back of the phone. So go ahead and undo all 6 screws on the back of this plate and help us pull it off. Now these are pretty shallow screws. They pull out pretty easy, so don't lose them as they pop out. And there is some adhesive on the back of the cable to the metal backing that we'll have to pull off the phone before we can remove it right off. And you want to be careful, you don't want to rip the cable as you do this. Right, there's 3 of our 6 screws off. We'll just work on the 3 on the opposite side. And 2 more to go. And here's our last one. Alright, now we can go ahead and pull this kind of bracket up, and you'll see that there's a little bit of adhesive down here at the bottom towards the home button. So let's go ahead and pull this open, and this will actually fold open for us. I'll show you exactly where the cable's attached. You can see it right down here at the bottom. Both of the display cables are attached to the back side of this metal bracket. So we'll need to pull those off first. So just take our spudger and put it in between and just kind of push it off. It's not put on there extremely tight with a lot of adhesive. It's just lightly adhered on there. So we'll just twist with our spudger, it'll pop off. Perfect. Here's our metal plate. Now with that off, we can go ahead and remove our home button. Now there is a light amount of adhesive on the back side of this cable as you pull it up. Just be careful not to rip the cable, as this home button is one of a kind for your phone, so you don't want to damage it at all. Perfect. And there we go, we have the display removed. So if you want to go ahead and insert your new display on, you may have to remove these 2 plastic pieces over like I was talking about, depending on your new display. But if you want to watch the reassembly video, I'll put that down in the comments below. As always, thanks for watching. Catch you in the next one. Peace.